in the deep ancient forests of Japan, a land veiled in mystery and draped in twilight. There echoed the soft whispers of creatures both feared and revered. These were the Kitsune Fox, spirits of Japanese mythology, who walked a fine line between the known and the unknown, the seen and the unseen. In the hush of the night, under a moonlight sky, the Kitsune played and plotted their eyes. Gleaming with secrets untold, their presence was as elusive as their shifting shadows. They were the silent watchers, the hidden whispers. A presence felt rather than seen. The air around them hummed with the magic of the old world. The world where spirits, gods, mortals, and nature coexisted. This is the story of the Kitsune and the origin of the nine-tailed fox. The origins of the Kitsune traced back to the earliest animals of Japanese history. Texts like the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki. These tales spoke of the Kitsune not merely as creatures of the flesh and bone, but as beings of a deeper, more profound nature. They were seen as messengers of the gods, creatures of the earth, yet touched by the divine in the old Chinese stories, from which their legend partly originated. The Kitsune were known as Holy Jing Fox, spirits of a similar nature. These tales traveled overseas and mountains, eventually reaching the shores of Japan, where they took root and flourished. The Japanese Kitsune, while sharing similarities with their Chinese counterparts, took on a distinct identity, reflective of the unique spiritual landscape of Japan in the shadowed groves and rustling leaves of Japan's sacred shrine. The Kitsune found their home. They became an integral part of country's mythology, a symbol of the mystical bond between the earthly and ethereal. Their stories passed down through generations were a vibrant mix of wonder, awe, and sometimes a touch of fear. In the Japanese legends, the Kitsune were creatures of extraordinary presence. They fell under the category of yokai, which was a class of supernatural entities or spirits in Japanese mythology. Visually, they bore the elegant form of a fox, yet there was something unmistakably otherworldly about them. Their form ranged from a fiery red to a pure ethereal white that shimmered with an almost unpredictable glow, particularly under the moonlight. Their eyes, deep and knowing, seemed to hold centuries of wisdom, flickering with intelligence that transcended the ordinary. They would sometimes be depicted as or take the form of a human woman to interact with the human world. As they saw fit, the Kitsune were not bound by a singular nature. Their personalities were as varied as the leaves in an autumn forest, making them one of the most unpredictable and fascinating figures in Japanese mythology. They existed in the state of moral ambiguity, being neither entirely evil or good. In Japanese mythology, there are said to be 13 types of Kitsune, each corresponding to a different element: celestial, wind, spirit, darkness, fire, earth, river, ocean, forest, mountain, thunder, sound, and time. Some Kitsune were recognized for their intelligence, a trait that they owned over the many years of their existence. Their wisdom was not just a product of age, but of experience, gathered from watching the world change, from empires rising and falling, from the tale of humans and gods alike. Other Kitsune were seen as noble guardians. These were the foxes who watched over ancient forests, sacred shrines, or even individual families' stories tell of Kitsune warding of evil spirits, guiding lost travelers or bringing fortune to those they favored in these tales. The Kitsune loyalty and protective instincts shone through, revealing a benevolent side to their character. One such a story is the tale of the Kitsune's lantern. As the story goes, there once lived a poor but kind-hearted man on the outskirts of a village. One evening, under the glow of crescent moon, he encountered a Kitsune, this fox spirit in a mood for mischief, transformed into a traveling merchant. Selling the lantern, the Kitsune claimed, was no ordinary light, but a magical one, capable of bringing fortune to its owner. Intrigued and desperate for a change in his fortunes, the man spent his last coins on this lantern. The villagers laughed at his gullibility, but the man held on to hope. That night, as the lantern glowed, it indeed began to bring him luck. His corpse grew abundantly, and the lost treasures were found in his field, and soon he became the most prosperous man in the village. The twist, however, lay in the true nature of the lantern's magic. It wasn't the lantern that changed his luck, but his belief in it. The Kitsune, pleased with the lesson imparted, revealed itself to the man, offering him a glimpse into the mystical world of the Kitsune. This tale, passed down through generations, reminds us of the power of belief in the unexpected ways in which fortune can smile upon us. Conversely, there were Kitsune known for their mischievous and deceptive nature, which was as much a part of them as their bushy tails. They could be benevolent, using their cunning minds to guide lost souls, or to teach a much-needed lesson to the arrogant. Yet, they could also create illusions that led the greedy or the cruel astray, their tricks serving as poetic justice in the human realm. The Kitsune deceptive nature and benevolent nature was shown in the tale of the invisible silk robe, a story that intertwined the allure of magic with the perils of human desire and greed. In this tale, a Kitsune, intrigued by the nature of the human greed, presented a poor farmer with a gift, a robe woven from the finest silk, light as air and as shimmering as dew in the morning sun. The Kitsune revealed that their robe had the power to make its wearer invisible. The farmer, initially cautious, soon began to use the robe for small, seemingly harmless acts, sneaking into plays, listening to private conversations. However, as time passed, his action grew bolder, greedier. He started using the robe for personal gain, stealing and eavesdropping on secrets not meant for his ears. One day, as farmer sat in the village, square, invisible, and smug in his ill-gotten success, the robe suddenly vanished, leaving him exposed and humiliated. The villagers, realizing that he had done, scorned him for his deceit. The Kitsune watched from afar. Its point made the robe was not just a magical garment, but a test of a character, a lesson in the dangers of letting greed and desire overtake one's moral compass. In the pantheon of Japanese deities, Inari stood as a pivotal figure, the god of agriculture, fertility, protection, and prosperity. It was with Inari that the Kitsune found their most profound connection. Revered as the messengers and protectors of Inari, the Kitsune were a link between the divine and the mortal world. This bond was celebrated and honored at Inari's shrines, which dotted the Japanese landscape. These shrines were sanctuaries, not just for humans, but for Kitsune as well. Stone statue of Kitsune, often adorned with red bulbs and holding keys, or sheaves of rice in their mouths, stood guard at these sacred places. They were more than mere representations. They were believed to be vessels for the Kitsune spirit, a physical manifestation of their protective presence. People from all walks of life would visit the shrines, offering prayers and tokens in the hope of receiving blessings. Farmers sought bountiful harvests, merchants prayed for prosperity, and many came seeking wisdom or protection. In return, it was believed that the Kitsune, as divine messengers, carried these prayers to Inari, acting as intermediaries between humanity and the gods. During festival dedicated to Inari, the Kitsune were celebrated with great reverence. There were dances and rituals performed in their honor, stories told of their deeds, offering made to please them. In these moments, the Kitsune were more than just myth. They were a vital part of the spiritual fabric of Japanese life, bridging the gap between the tangible and the untangible, the human and the divine. In the tale of the White Fox of Shinoda, it showcased how some Kitsune were revered by the people of ancient Japan. As the story goes, in the forests of Shinoda, they believed the White Fox, revered as the guardian spirit by the local villagers. Its coat was as pure as the snow, and its eyes shone like the clearest of winter nights. One fateful day, a hunter, new to the region and unaware of the fox's revered statues, killed the white fox, mistaking it for a regular animal. The village was struck with grief and dismay at the loss of their guardian spirit. Realizing the grave mistake, the hunter and the villagers sought to make amends in honor of the fallen fox. They built a shrine, the Shinoda Shrine, dedicating it to the spirit of the white fox. They believed that by honoring the fox, they could appease its spirit and seek forgiveness for the thoughtless act. Over time, the shrine became a place of pilgrimage, attracting people from far and wide who came to pay respect to the spirit of the white fox. According to Japanese folklore, the Kitsune were beings of extraordinary power. Their abilities as varied and profound as their stories. The art of shapeshifting was perhaps the most famous of the Kitsune powers. With this ability, they could transform into any human form, from a beautiful maiden to an elderly sage, seamlessly blending into the human world. This power was not merely physical, but also magical, allowing them to adopt the very mannerisms and speech of the form they took in order to utilize this transformation. They first had to collect reed's leaf or a skull and place it over its head. Then they would use their magic to shapeshift into whatever form they saw fit. However, the Kitsune's transformations were not perfect. It was said that the many Kitsunes would retain their fox-like features when shapeshifting into a human, most commonly their tails, but sometimes their ears. In these tales, the Kitsune needed to make a conscious effort to conceal their features. Though many were successful, it was common for Kitsune to unintentionally reveal their true identity when they were in a state of carelessness or drunkenness. But that was not their only weakness. Though Kitsune were believed to both fear and hate dogs, it was said that dogs could sniff out a disguised Kitsune and would become aggressive towards them. This would ultimately make the Kitsune revert into its fox form and flee back into the forest. Most important to the Kitsune was the Hoshi no Tama. This was a glowing orb that would act as the container for their soul, and without it, it was believed that the kitsune would lose its strength and pass away. When they transformed into a human, the orb took the shape of an amulet to wear around their neck. As a fox, they simply carried the orb in their mouth or on their tail. Illusions were another tool in their magical arsenal. With this magic, they could make themselves invisible, but more commonly, kitsune conjured visions and sounds, creating enchanting dreamlike scenarios that captivated or misled humans. They could even manifest dreams into those who were sleeping, attacking their very subconscious. These illusions were so convincing that they could alter perceptions of reality, leading even the wisest to question their senses and sanity. During these spells, some kitsune would take advantage of the opportunity and drain the energy and life force of the unsuspecting victim, much like a vampire or a succubus. The kitsune, these powerful beings, despite their magical prowess, were not beyond the reach of spiritual influence, even though they were known for their trickery and enchanting spells. They held a new susceptibility to the forces of fate and sacred rituals. In many tales, it is said that Buddhist prayers and Shinto rituals held a particular power over the kitsune monks and priests, armed with their deep spiritual knowledge, could ward off a kitsune trickery or even break their magical spells. In some stories, the mere presence of sacred artifacts or the chanting of holy sutras was enough to reveal a kitsune true form or banish them from a place they had been hunting. Central to their identity was the number of tails they possessed. A kitsune could have up to 9 tails, which most commonly symbolize their age, wisdom, and magical prowess. A kitsune with fewer tails were considered younger and weaker than those with more tails. A 9-tailed kitsune, however, was a sight to behold. They were creatures of immense power and ancient wisdom, often graded with a mix of awe and reverence. Those with fewer tails were said to have less control over their magic, which meant when using powers such as shapeshifting, they could not mention that form as long as their more-tailed counterparts. The kitsune were also capable of producing the kitsunabi, or foxfire. It was a unique and mysterious aspect of their magic. These ethereal flames, often blue or green, could be seen flickering in the night, especially near cemeteries or in the forest. They were both a beacon the kitsune presents and a display of their mystical power, emerging of the rare and the sublime. As we draw the curtains on the mystical world of kitsune, it becomes clear that these enchanting fox spirits are much more than mere characters in Japanese folklore. They are symbols of the intricate dance between the natural and the supernatural, a dance that has captivated human imagination for centuries. Their stories, rich in lessons, symbolism, and moral dilemmas, reflect the deep human fascination with the mysterious of the world around us and the unseen forces that shape our realities. The varied personalities of the kitsune, ranging from benevolent guardians to seductive trickers, mirror our own complex human nature. They remind us that every being, every entity has many layers, and that understanding these layers requires insight, empathy, and often a willingness to look beyond appearances. In conclusion, the kitsune stands as a captivating figure in Japanese folklore, a creature that embodies the combination of the physical and the ethereal. Its legacy continues to intrigue and inspire, serving as a window into the rich and mystical human interaction with the unseen forces of nature and spirits. Thanks for being with me so far. I hope you enjoyed watching this tale. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because that will make me happy and will release my fatigue. And share your ideas in the comment and share this tale if you like it.